you're very welcome to this week's edition of Farm Business Options. My name is Barry Caslin, Teagasc Energy and Rural Development Specialist, and today is the second last edition of Farm Business Options as we'll be closing the series on the 8th of June. But today we're discussing the whole area of food innovation and entrepreneurship. We'll be talking about the Bia Innovator Campus that's going to be opening next year, early 2022, in Teagasc and Athenry. The new Bia Innovator Campus is expected to be a step change project to transform the food entrepreneurship in the west of Ireland. The campus is co-located at the Teagasc campus in Athenry and will address the need for regional food workspace, infrastructure and support services, which will lead to the creation of food production units and co-working kitchens with learning and innovation in the one location. Today we have two panellists, Elaine Donohue, who's the General Manager of the Bia Innovation Campus in Athenry, and also Colm, who's a food technologist, also based in Athenry. Good morning to you both. Hello Elaine, how are you?
Good morning Barry, how are you? Thanks for having us, delighted to be here.
Good Elaine, great to have you here today. Elaine is the General Manager at the Bia Innovation Campus since 2019. She oversees and manages the initial development of the not-for-profit company, delivery of its capital project, and the company's operation is expected to open in 2022. Elaine holds the first class honours in international marketing practice, Prince 2 project management, and a diploma in strategic growth for the food industry from Smurfit School of Business in Dublin. Initially, she gained robust knowledge of the retail industry and its workings following her years with Legal Ireland. She then gained an extensive international perspective from working for Bia in their London office, and she worked commercially as a national account manager for Green Farm Foods and Brady Family Ham, managing both domestic and export channels for their business. Prior to her appointment here, Elaine led the Galway, West of Ireland European Region of Gastronomy designation. It was awarded the Best Economic Development Project in Ireland by the Chambers Ireland. So Elaine and Colm, you're based in Cork at the moment, Colm, but you're going to be in Athenry soon, isn't that correct?
Once we're up and running, yeah, definitely looking forward to making it up there.
Great. And Colm, you bring a team of a combination of Ireland and European experience in the product development, having spent years studying, then working in the food industry in France. While working in full-time on the Bia Innovator Campus, Colm is a member of the Teagasc Food Industry Development Department and is a vital link to the services, resources and knowledge base within Teagasc. Colm has a MSc in Food and Wine Management and a BBS in Culinary Arts, and is experienced in recipe formulation, new product development and food safety and quality. So great to have you both here, and you're very, very welcome. So today's program is recorded, so if any of you want to watch it back, you can see it on YouTube afterwards on teagasc.ie/farm business options, and the presentation will also be available there as well. So I think both of you are going to do a presentation together. It's a combined presentation. I think Elaine, you're going to lead it out, and Colm, you're going to join in. So what we do is, if any of you have any questions that you want to put to Colm or to Elaine, you can put those in the Q&A function here at the bottom of your screens. So you just click on that, put in your question, and we put it to Elaine and Colm afterwards. So Elaine, you're going to tell us about this new Innovator Campus at Athenry, how it works, and how you'd like to communicate with the public, and I suppose people that want to avail of the services as well. So over to you, Elaine.
Thanks a million, Barry. Look, thank you for having us. We're delighted to be here to present today. This project has taken a good number of years to deliver, and it has a huge benefit to the farming community nationally. So we're delighted to be here today to explain that connection and what we can offer, and what we're aiming to do. So this is a picture of our campus. It's currently under construction in Athenry. If anyone is familiar with the area, we're just 2 minutes off the M6 motorway for the junction of Athenry, and we're co-located on the Mellows campus with Teagasc. At the back of the picture there in white, you can see the Department of Agriculture buildings and also Galway Rural Development. So quite a unique location, and I'll take you through that in a minute. So look, what is the Bia Innovator Campus, and how did it come about? We're set up as a not-for-profit company, and I suppose we have a voluntary board of directors that are leading the charge in the delivery of this campus. Since 2017, we've leveraged over 7 million in funding, government funding, from the Department of Business, Enterprise and Employment and Department of Rural Development to really deliver this initiative, because we see it as a key step change for the West of Ireland. Back in 2018, I led the Galway West of Ireland region of gastronomy project in Galway, and I suppose that was a European award for food. And the year was about celebrating the importance of our food industry in Ireland, from farm right through to fork, so connecting all the different elements that are important in our food chain. And throughout the year, while we have some magnificent strengths in the West of Ireland, we also have very significant weaknesses. And we began to find out that, there was just such a huge lack of support structure for the food industry to grow. Obviously, there's different agencies looking after different parts of the food industry. So the farming community have the Teagasc Advisory Service and all the additional services that Teagasc provide, but in order to connect the dots, a lot of young businesses in the area of food were struggling as such to get a growth path and to figure out where to go. Obviously, the local enterprise office provides valuable supports. Teagasc, Board Bia, BIM, Fáilte Ireland from a tourism perspective, but there wasn't one location that you could go and get support on the point at which you were at and get you unstuck and onto the next part of your journey. Also, there was a huge lack of production facilities for any type of food product. So this came to the fore across the country. And the third big issue that there was at the time was that there was it was impossible to get access to innovation services. So just where do I find that information? Where do I start if I just have an idea and I don't have any experience in the food industry? Or look, I run a really good farm and I'd like to now look at diversifying my income stream, or my son or daughter wants to come on board and they have a degree in engineering, or they're an accountant and they want to look at ways of using our family farm more innovatively. Where do we start? And obviously Teagasc Options is the starting point here today. So look, the campus has a lot of key stakeholders, Galway County Council and Teagasc being the two main initiators, and then surrounding that we've surrounded ourselves with very strong partners for development. So the main project at the minute is we are delivering this €7 million campus in Athenry, and I'm going to take you through the various parts, and we hope to have that campus open and operational at the end of this year. We've had some delays due to COVID, but look, we're getting there. We're nearly ready to go, and we have a huge partnership around us to deliver that. So, what is an innovation campus? What does it even do? How is it relevant to you or me? When you look at the success of food in any sense in Ireland, there are many different shared facilities, kitchens, hubs around the country. For people in the west of Ireland, the one that would be the most familiar would be the Drumshanbo Food Hub, and that'd be number 7 there on the screen just up here at the top. But you can see there's just a massive deficit in the northwest of food facilities for the community at all. You'll see Cork has quite a number of facilities, and I suppose when you look at the food industry and the development of food companies, you can see why they've developed out of areas like of Cork. Those facilities have been in place for many, many years. Teagasc obviously are based in many offices around the country, but their main centres being the Food Industry Development Centre in Dublin and Moore Park in Cork, and obviously Athenry also. So we're delighted to have this facility linked up with the Teagasc campus in Athenry. But what we want to offer, I suppose, is a centre of excellence that is a national centre of excellence, but that offers absolutely everything you need as regards services, whether you're a farmer, a fisherman, a food producer, a chef, a restaurant, a cafe, wherever you sit along the food chain, that there is innovation services for you and support in expanding your business. So the backbone of what we have is food production and innovation, and then we're building out the services from that, and I suppose linking all the different types of supports on one site. So you don't have to go to BIM and Board Bia and Teagasc for everything. That you can come to us and we'll direct you according to what your needs are at that particular time. None of the other sites have a food technology team in Ireland, so that's quite unique for us. We're going to have a head of innovation and food technology joining us later in the year, and that will be supported by Colm and a second food technologist from that are being provided by Teagasc. So we're delighted with that. And also the added benefit of that is that if our small team don't have the answers, they have the connections and the day-to-day relationships with Teagasc colleagues all over the country to, you know, if you're stuck on a packaging issue or a horticulture question, we can access the knowledge that you need, because I suppose the food technology, you know, our technologists are based within the food industry development team, and they have those connections built and those working relationships. So I suppose we're really leveraging the expertise that Teagasc provides also. This is the layout of the campus. So at the back of the screen, you'll see two smaller low-lying buildings, and those are actual owned or production units. So for anyone who's producing, let's say, for example, an ice cream, and they've been producing it perhaps at home or getting someone else to produce for them, and they want their own facility. On the back left, the growth units, they're small owned or units with your own key that you could run your food business from. And these are like hen's teeth in the country at the minute. And then when you grow out of those small production facilities with maybe 5 or 6 people working there for you, you can grow into the other side, which is a growth unit, and they're the 3 large ones there. They can facilitate up to 20 staff. So I suppose this is helping you to avoid a huge amount of investment cost. Our smaller units, there's about 100,000 investment gone into them. So it's saving you that investment yourself, you just rent. And the larger units is probably 200,000 worth of investment gone into that. When you think of trying to operate your business in rural Ireland, we have plugged in a state-of-the-art substation. 100,000 gone into that as well, and we have also connected up with all Irish water, bulk gas supply, sorted out all the discharge licensing issues that food producers can often encounter. So I suppose it's really, we're trying to help people at an early stage to not have a huge startup cost and to really just focus on growing their own business and getting their product to be the best product that they can offer. The big building at the front, the main, I suppose, reception meeting area is all built around Bia which is about learning and development and training. And in that area, then we also have a food tourism, Bia Bloss. So that will be all based around learning how to set up a food tourism business, being part of a food tourism network through Bia Innovator Campus, and linking out then to sell your food tourism products. So it's fine being able to host maybe food tours on your farm, but you know, what are all the add-ons I need, and how do I sell this offer that I have to tours that are coming into Ireland, or luxury groups that are coming, or study groups, or whoever they might be. So helping you to connect yourself to buyers if you're in food tourism. And Be Accelerate is probably the third angle in that building. So that's really accelerating your business. So you might be running a business at the minute, might not be making you a huge amount of profit. How do I reorganize myself, reorganize my business plan, look at my customers, look at my profit, and try and be the best business that I can possibly be? And how do I grow that to really help me diversify my farm business? At the back of that large building at the front is probably the most innovative space we have. It's a co-working section to the campus. And if you're familiar with kind of international food areas, it would be similar to what you would see as ghost kitchens or production facilities in the US or Canada. So in this space, we have 4 different kitchens where you can rent a day to work and make your product, whether it be cakes or scones or jam or ice cream or cheese or whatever it might be. You can rent space here and do that piece of work with all the right equipment and facilities and support from our technology team. And then you don't have to invest in that space yourself. We're assuming that there will be huge time and cost saving. So if there's people at the minute making produce at home, it can be quite cumbersome. You don't have the right facilities and maybe the right size equipment to do things in a fast manner. So you can come in here, you know, instead of spending 4 nights a week at home producing product, spend 1 day and get it all done, or an evening. So our whole campus is going to be open 24/7, and it's very much focused around supporting the food industry, and right through from farm the whole way through to fork. So I'll take it through to, this is our team. So I came in 2019 as general manager. Sarah is our project coordinator. More than likely it's Sarah you'd speak to day. And Colm joined us in January as our food technologist, and the food technology team will be a team of 3 plus 3 additional support staff for its operation day to day. So look, I suppose, how do we work? How do you get in contact with us? Whether you're someone who has an idea, doesn't, maybe you have a son or daughter that you want to get involved in your farm and they're not really sure what their future plans are themselves or for the farm. You know, there's no harm in getting in touch with us, telling us about what you do at the minute, getting us to help you in identifying maybe some opportunities, getting to see what's out there in the food industry that maybe you haven't even thought about or hadn't considered before. So we're here to help you the whole way through whatever you might like to do. But I suppose the first step would be definitely to contact us, even if you don't know if any of our facilities would be appropriate for you, or if you don't know a huge amount about food. That's not a problem. We have many people that just come to us and they want to suggestions on how to diversify what they're doing into the food arena. And what we would do is we'd set up a call with our team, and you'd get to know us, we'd get to know yourselves and what your background is, and what your journey might look like, whether that's you spend a day shadowing a couple of food businesses to see what life is like in that area, go and visit some other farms and see what they've done, and just get a sense of whether this might be something for you. And then obviously we can help you progress if you want, whether that be getting a food safety training course or whether it's spending a day learning to make ice cream in one of our facilities. Whatever direction that journey may take, we're there to support. Our aim overall really is to help the food industry to add value, and to, I suppose, be the best version of themselves that they can be. I know a lot of businesses, farms and food producers around the country had a huge angle in food tourism, which has suffered over COVID for the last year. So I suppose everyone is always looking for new angles and new ways to spread the risk and to new ways to bring in income for their business. So we're happy to help, we're happy to support. We'd like to think that we're like-minded, so anyone who has interest at all in saying, okay, this might be something for me, please do get in contact. It's very much for us around building that community and getting to know you know, people, where they're at, what their challenges are, and, you know, if they have any vision for the future or they need help to set that out, that we can be there to support. So we do have an awful lot of queries. You know, we've had different, from the dairy sector, people coming to us interested in developing a product but no actual food background. So we're there to help, I suppose, bridge that gap, and get that essential food knowledge, you know, help get the idea generation going, understanding what would be involved to even get into this area, machinery or a facility, or if you could come, if you were within a distance of the campus. But we're there to help. So no query is a bad query as such. So the knowledge piece, I'm just going to go through for the minute. So I suppose we will be providing, you'll see on the diagram down at the bottom, so expert advice, upskilling, and then the community aspect. So if you're able to, you know, not as such have a plan for the future, but if you want to come and be involved in part of the community and learn, there's no problem with that. To meet more like-minded people who want to get into this area, maybe have taken the first step that you haven't taken, maybe have taken 3 steps. You know, we're here on that journey, and it's that community we'll be knitting while also providing expert advice and upskilling. So wherever the gaps are in your knowledge, that we help to get that. So we're able to offer the technical, the innovation, the business support, mentoring, peer support, that networking piece. You can join other food and drink small startups who, you know, might just have an idea. I mean, we've people coming to us, you know, a chef that no longer wants to work in a restaurant or hotel. They have an idea but just don't know how to start the journey, and we're helping them. And then we have others that are on a food journey for a long, long time. So, you know, everyone has a place, everyone's on their own journey. And the definite thing that we can offer is that fusion on site of agencies, universities, the colleges, and the access to our in-house technology team, you know, and then we'll help you through that cycle no matter where you are. So if you're starting from scratch and know nothing about food, we're happy to start at that point. If you've been in a food business for years and are stuck, we're happy to unstick you and help you on your journey. Our aim is really to help support the food industry as much as we can. I'm just going to take you through a few of our spaces in Building 1. You know, they're quite flexible. Our facilities are very much, they'll be best in class, but we're trying to be flexible for the future, because year on year, there's always a new change and challenge, whether it's Brexit, COVID, there's always something coming at us, and you have to adjust and pivot accordingly to those challenges. So this is our buyer showcase room. It's one of our facilities where whether you're in food tourism and you want to pitch an idea about a farm experience to a travel buyer, whether it's you're trying to pitch to Joyce's and you want to, you have a product idea and you want to pitch into them, whether you supply a number of high-end restaurants with the product and you want to bring in the head chefs and have a discussion around your product and showcase it. This space is very flexible. We also hope to have it as kind of a pop-up shop a number of times a year then for seasonal support to food producers. But again, it has presentation display space on screen. You can fridges for chilled products be displayed, and ambient shelving as well, and then a presentation section. So, the high top table, you can cook up your product and sample it and really give that true professional experience to anyone that you're pitching to. You mightn't like them to be on your farm all day and in your kitchen, or you mightn't like them in a production facility either. So this is kind of an ideal space for that. Our auditorium, so this is again another multi-use space, so we plan to hold lots of seminars, events, trainings, lectures, but this is kitted out with the capacity to have 2 chefs cooking alongside at the same time, and also a presentation podium. So this will be flexible. It can be used by anyone. If you had a new food product, for example, you could showcase how to use it, how to develop a recipe. You can live stream, you can record. It's, I suppose, a multi-use space that will be able to offer networking plays together, but also training, education and connection. And we'll also be able to bring groups in here as well to have an Irish food experience, or a West of Ireland food experience particularly, or a seafood experience, and connect, I suppose, up our farm to fork message across the region. Next to that room, we have an audiovisual room. So it's similar to Board Bia Thinking House. There's a 9-screen audiovisual room, and this can be configured for meetings, training, networking events, whatever it might be. It can also serve as an overflow from the auditorium and show what's going on in there. But again, another flexible space for food community to meet and to learn, to be part of events. Upstairs then we have in the middle there, you'll see 16 station culinary training room. So this is for primarily training as regards the culinary side of things, but also recipe development. We do plan to have this certified so that can be used as food production unit as well. So if people want to come in and use the station for smaller amounts of product. And then wrapped around that is our business centre with hot desks, so people can actually work from here if they want as well, and a coffee bar where people can gather, meet, chat, network, and we'll hold kind of lunchtime seminars there as well. So it'll give you an idea. This is more pictures of the business centre. We have kind of meeting booths. We're told these are kind of the places people like to gather, more so than chatting in a corridor anymore. You can sit in and have a cup of coffee, go through different documents up on the screen. We have some phone booths as well for private calls, and meeting room, and obviously the coffee bar as well. So I suppose all the services, we are not for profit, and we are getting our full campus. I suppose we've attained the funding to build that. So we will have a high cost of operation because of the amount of I suppose, facilities we've in here. We've an awful lot of equipment that needs to be maintained and everything. So our charging that is very accessible, it's very low, and that money will go back into just maintaining the campus overall. That's what it'll end up being. So Colm now is going to take you through the actual co-working space, right through the individual units and from the food technology perspective, and we'll link it back at the end.
So thanks, Elaine. So I suppose if you want to just jump to the next slide there now, Elaine, please.
Can you see that one, Colm?
And to the next one, please. So the site itself has 4 dedicated individual co-working units dedicated to high value production. And those areas are meat, seafood, dairy, and general production. So they're fully fitted with new industry-specific equipment, food-grade floors, walls, ceilings. They're about 60 square meters in size, with the general co-working unit slightly larger. And the general co-working unit actually has 4 working stations, so it can be leased out on different options. So they're temperature-controlled production areas. This is vitally important when you're talking about meat production and seafood production. They have their own dedicated walk-in chill storage, and the freezer, or the dairy unit and the seafood unit have their own freezer storage walk-in. They have a dedicated external access for deliveries with a roller door, as well as pedestrian access. And then detailed induction training will be provided on use of these units. Now include how to use all the equipment, how to clean them post-production, any chemical training that may be required while you're doing your production. And then also each of these units have their own separate changing lobby and goods lobby. Now when you produce materials can't be stored post-production, but they can be stored all the way throughout production. And so for the next slide, please, Elaine.
Yeah. Sorry, now it's taking a minute.
And I suppose thinking about the technical services that we have available on site, as Elaine has previously mentioned, there'll be 2 dedicated food technologists who are part of the Teagasc Food Industry Development Department, and there'll also be an innovation specialist. And I suppose depending on where you are in your journey with your business, we have different services that we'll be able to offer. So if you're at the beginning, food safety and quality management consultation, help you develop your HACCP plans. And for someone who's further down in their production line, if you're looking to get into the multiples or into retailers, helping you with your quality manual development and standards developments such as ISO and BRC. If you're looking at process flow and product optimization, helping you with lean and making you more effective in your production. Also, if you need advice on equipment and machinery, recipe formulation and new product development and product innovation, that'll be a huge area of where we'll be able to offer expertise. Packaging assistance, what you want your product to be packed in. And I suppose when you're talking about a new product, packaging is so vital and it has to be developed all along while you're doing your new product development process. Labeling and nutritional declarations. There are laws now in place regarding what you can put on your label and how it's displayed, so we can advise on that. And also offering you in-house training, so such as HACCP training, food handling, chemical training, and so forth. So when we look at a more detailed version of our units, so in the general unit.
I'll just go back just 1 second, Colm, and I'll just go through the slide maybe, and then we'll go through the individual units with the diagrams and things. So the piece that Colm is talking about that I think will be most interest to a lot of people here is the co-working space. We obviously just for product control, we have this divided out. So we have a raw meat unit, our general purpose unit, which is for anything and everything. Our dairy unit is just specifically kitted out for dairy production, and our seafood unit as well, which also will be multi-use. It can be used, it can be rented separately as a general unit as well. And I suppose what we've invested in these is that you pay per use, so there isn't a huge cost to yourself. We've put in all the premium appliances. So again, it's bigger equipment than you would have at home and more industrial, and you get to, I suppose, try it before you ever invest in your own. And then again, as I said, the dedicated units before you move on to, I suppose, your own unit with the key and everything for yourself, and then a growth unit. So some people might never want to move on to their own unit. They might want to stay within co-working and just have a professional space to work in, and they can walk out of it and your production's done, you take away your product. And others then, they want to go on a longer journey in food. So it just opens up. If you want to be there and partake for a half day, there's no problem with that. So now, Colm, sorry, but you've gone through the induction piece, haven't you?
We'll just touch on this slide. So like as part of any client coming on site or anyone who wants to use the units and use our facilities, full induction will be provided and full training, so that, as you can see, is being trained on the correct operation of all the equipment, being trained on correct cleaning, trained in safe use of cleaning chemicals, and you'll also be required to partake in relevant food safety training. And also we're developing a range of webinars that will be delivered throughout the year on various industry topics. And I suppose these units are ideal for people who might be at the kitchen scale or the benchtop scale of production, who want to build up to, say, a pallet of production, that type of level. And again, as Elaine said, they're fully kitted out with everything you may need, so they're ready to walk in once induction training has been completed. So in our dairy specialist unit, the products you could look at producing are custards, yogurts, soft and hard cheeses, and also then doing smaller MPD work, potentially on ice cream. And the type of equipment that we have available within this unit is a 600 litre vat pasteurizer. We also have a 100 litre tilting kettle, which is ideal for MPD production. We'll also have a cup sealing unit for yogurt. So if you are making yogurt products, you'll be able to pack them there on site as well. So the next slide. So our meat unit is a raw meat preparation unit. And also to say that all the units are going to be approved and registered with the relevant authorities. So you'll be able to come in once you have built up your HACCP and food safety management plan and begin production. So the meat unit, it's a temperature control environment. Again, raw meat. So if you're doing value-added production of meat, say you want to do a sausage, we have a sausage filler and mincer. If you want to do burgers, we have a burger former and again mincers. Bowl chopper for doing finely emulsified meat products. And also we have a combi oven with a smoker attachment if you want to do cold smoked meat products. And then also in our goods in and outward, we have a rail for hanging meat carcasses.
2 minutes to questions.
Perfect. Briefly on the seafood, it's an auxiliary production unit, again, temperature controlled, and it has the various equipment that you may need for producing and processing seafood products. Again, if you're looking at chowders, seafood pates, and along those lines. And then to the general unit. So we're saying this is the general or multi-product unit. And again, there's 4 workstations available in this unit. It's slightly larger than the other 3 units. And again, it has all the equipment that you may need to produce catering products, ready-to-eat consumer foods. So you're talking about your combi oven, your boiling pans, your brat pans, and also each of the units will have a blast chiller for chilling product post-cooking. And here we just have a general layout of one of our co-working units. So on the bottom right, you can see our transition changing lobby into the unit. The central part of the picture depicts the actual production zone. You can see the 4 workbenches and the layout of the unit. And to your left, you can see your intake and dispatch goods lobby, which have their own dedicated walk-in freezers. And there's also an external roller door access to the far left that leads out into your delivery area.
Yeah, super. Look, thanks, Colm, for that. No, look, I mean, we've just given a short overview today. I hope it gives you a sense of, I suppose, what we offer as an overall. I see some questions in there. Does the Bia offer assistance post the product being developed, working on securing retailer listings? Yes, of course. Commercial and marketing your product, telling your brand story, pitching, making sure you're getting the right information and answering all the buyer questions. That's critical. And it'll be one of our essential services. I suppose my own background is in the commercial area, and I just see that you know, food producers across the country, they can have different strengths and weaknesses. So some producers are really good to tell their story, and some producers are excellent at making their product, but some hate the idea of having to do the commercial negotiation and pitching and putting themselves out there. So we're there to try and help everyone to fully round their offering. So wherever your weaknesses are, we're here to help and get going with that.
That's great. Thanks, Minna, for that, Elaine. That's brilliant. And to Colm, that's a great overview of the whole Bia Innovator Campus in Athenry and gives us a good idea about what's available to everybody. And it really is a centre of excellence. And I suppose, Colm, it's really you had intended to open it a bit earlier, but you're looking at maybe early 2022 to have it fully operational. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Elaine, do you want to talk about the opening?
Yeah, look, it'll be later on in the year. We're only back on site about 2 weeks now at the minute, so we're talking to our contractors just to get it closed out. But by the end of this year, start of 2022, will be open and operational, and before that if we can. But it's hard to make promises with all the stopping and starting with COVID to date.
Yeah, I see another question has come in there. Are sensory booths and consumer testing panels possible?
Definitely, yes. We're in talks at the minute with a potential partner for that area. So they're looking at offering us access to consumer panels, and that a couple of times, so we can arrange it maybe one Tuesday a month, and they can set it up for whatever someone requires. So they can set up the sensory panel. They can also do home testing if we want to do that, if there's any issues, I suppose, with you know, getting people into facilities or social distancing. If there's any issues, they can do home panels as well. But again, they have the expertise. If you need a panel of vegan tasters, you can get that. If you need whatever specific taste requirements you have or technical pieces, they can provide that. So yeah, we will definitely be offering that. And we've had discussions around optimum sample sizes, but they would do a minimum group of 8, and they would suggest a sample size of 50 for any basic consumer testing or panels.
Okay, and I suppose just some general questions about, I suppose, food innovation for either of you. Like, what are the current challenges for food innovators in Ireland, for somebody who's come up with a new idea and they want to actually bring it to the market and commercialise it? What would you see as the main challenges and maybe the supports that you can introduce for those?
Colm will be able to talk about the technical side of things in a minute or two, because we've been having lots of calls and conversations with potential tenants and users. But in a general sense, if you're a startup food company at the minute, there is such a high barrier to entry, you know, the cost of a food production space, because you need resin floors, you need food grade paneling on your walls. It's huge high cost, you know, compared to like a standard warehouse where you store boxes, the investment is huge. And you might be just selling at a farmer's market. You might have only just started out. So it doesn't warrant that level of investment of 100 or 200,000 until you have customers built up. So it's very much chicken and egg, and that's a big challenge. And when you talk then about investing in, you know, developing new and innovative products, it does cost. There's a cost associated with that. You know, you need a food technologist, you need access to that. So our costs will be heavily subsidised. So you will have access to food technologists at a really accessible rate, half the industry rate at the minute. And same with our production. You don't have to invest. It's all there. Walk in and you get your rental contract, and you don't have the big commitment that you would. And there's no point in investing when you're just starting off and you haven't even developed your customer base. You need to invest when you've 10 employees and you need your own production facilities. That's the point when you invest. So Colm, you might just talk about the different challenges from a technology perspective that we're seeing when people we've engaged with.
I suppose one side of it is the food safety and quality management, especially if you're looking to get into the retailers. Like, they'll expect a very high level of production, and that's what our facility will be able to offer, you know, best in class operating facilities. And I suppose as well then on technical advisory side, we will be able to help in developing these food safety management plans. Because I suppose when you start looking into all the regulations around food production, there's just so much information out there, and to be able to filter that into, like, you know, bullet points and easily understandable fashion for producers, I think that's quite important. And then I suppose on the technical side of it, it's always consumer driven. So what are the products that people want? I suppose packaging, sustainable packaging, that's a huge area of research, especially in the universities around the country. And I suppose people cutting back on plastic consumption, single-use plastics, especially with the directives that are coming down the line through the European Union. And then on the side of it is of clean label production, consumers want products that have very minimal additional ingredients such as preservatives and additives. So I suppose it's developing a product that is shelf stable and that will get you onto the retail space, because retailers will want a certain amount of shelf life for them to be able to turn over the product, but also offer to the consumer a product that, you know, has minimal additives and that has that clean label attached to it. And then I suppose this. Sorry, Barry.
There's probably big changes happening there, Colm, in relation to the whole packaging side. Because when I associate, you know, food packaging, you're talking about maybe metal, plastic, glass, paper, or cardboard. And is there a lot of changes coming down the line in terms of what you can actually use for packaging in the future?
I think so, and I suppose it's kind of a two-pronged approach. It's your processing as well as your packaging. So I know now an awful lot of products will be, you know, it's modified atmosphere packaging, and that will extend the quality of your product, and it will allow you to kind of control the intrinsic properties of your product, your ingredients. I suppose again, plastics they're popular for a reason, because they're accessible, they're cheap, and they're very, very functional. But there's an awful lot of research going on into the area.
And of course, it's being consumer driven as well. A lot of consumers are demanding this.
I think so, and retailers as well. Retailers will put the pressure on producers, especially if you're looking at private label production. They will really define the criteria that they want when they're pitching products to you.
And Colm, can I just ask you there, if you're trying to develop a new product, you know, I'd say that consumer research is so important in this whole area, looking at the consumer market and maybe the trends that are out there, you know, and is that data readily available there, you know, as regards, you know, whether you're producing a product for snackers or maybe the adventurous type, or maybe for people who are more conservative, you know, is that something that you can actually get access to that data through the Bia Innovator Campus? You know, maybe linkages with the likes of Board Bia, who are maybe doing market research as well.
Yeah, I mean, market research, they can be carried out separately. That is costly, but I do think from a starting perspective, like Board Bia have their consumer lifestyle trends that are renewed, and they do a huge amount of research themselves and how that's evolving. And they would also do market studies across Europe, so they'd have a look into the French market, the UK market, what's happening in those different sectors. So whether you can afford to spend that money on market research or not, there's definitely a huge amount of information out there. We can help to fast track and signpost towards all that. And also as you go, you'll be getting feedback from consumers. You can do taster panels, whether it's at a market, if you get a listing in Joyce's or McCambridge's in Galway, or wherever it might be, or Keen Stores in Waterford. You know, as you grow, you will definitely be getting regular feedback on, you know, how your product's performing. You'll do in-store tastings. So there's a whole range of ways that you can get that market feedback. But definitely what we will aim to do is to signpost you and to pull all that information that's already available and get that in front of you.
Okay. Yeah, and what are the main reasons for product failures? Because obviously they don't always come to the market. The people have the ideas, but they're not able to commercialize it. What are the main reasons for product failures? Is it poor market research? Is it not looking at the competition?
Yeah, a mix. I mean, I suppose anymore it's not good enough to just have a product that tastes great, because there's many products, and shelves are now crowded, whether it's shelves within a retail store or whether it's at the local butcher. Like the market is crowded with offering. You know, there's lots on offer. We're a very modern society, a very diverse. There's just a huge amount on offer in front of everybody's eyes, whether that's on the supermarket shelf, on social media, wherever it might be. It's a crowded space, and you have to stand out for the crowd. That's the bottom line. So I think traditionally, you know, having, you know, a really excellent product, you know, you will grow eventually, but it's just a very slow burn. You really have to now, you know, I suppose be able to pivot between, you know, selling and telling your story, making your product, doing your accounts and finance, and making sure you're making a profit, and I suppose making sure your product gets to where it needs to go on time. So you have to be quite a good multitasker to manage all the different dynamics of that and not be afraid of it either. And I do think that often it might be partnerships that work well, where you might have someone really strong on food production and on Colm's side, understanding the technology and the requirements, and then you might have someone else who can really understand the commercial figures. And I
suppose in some situations it can be bad timing. You know, you might have the right product, but it might be the wrong time. And I suppose in relation to the lack of expertise there, that's where you're really helping out, is actually adding that expertise, and you're bringing in the right innovation partners, because somebody that has a great idea about maybe developing an ice cream or a cheese or maybe some chutney or something like that, or a jam, they might have the idea and might be good at maybe producing that product, but commercializing it and bringing it to the market wouldn't be their forte. And that's where the Innovator Campus can help out.
Oh, definitely.
And I think on that, again, with the kind of food safety side of it, we're offering, you know, high spec production facilities, and if you're producing a product in say a subpar production facility, that's also going to be an issue for you to be able to get onto the retail shelves. You have to be producing to a certain standard, and that is something we will be able to offer producers. And I think Elaine touched on it as well about failing products. I suppose the notion of Me Too products or copycat products. Now it's obviously it's difficult to truly produce a truly innovative product, but again, just being a bit more innovative about your packaging, about your ingredient list, and I suppose the type of product that you're producing. And then I suppose it's hard to talk about new product development without kind of touching on the novel approach to like alternative plant-based and protein products that are eventually going to come down the line as well.
Okay. I suppose you can do a lot of desk research there, and it's a good way maybe of looking at, and it's very probably a simple and inexpensive way of doing your research about bringing your product onto the market. You can go on the internet, or you could look at press articles, or you could look at maybe company reports or accounts. But is field research very, very important in this as well? Getting out there, speaking to consumers, getting into supermarkets, is that important also?
Yeah, definitely. You have to know your customer better than they know themselves. You know what I mean? And you know, even just the modern lifestyle. Which lifestyle are you targeting? You know, is it someone that's time poor and that might spend a bit more money on a product but just want it ready to go? Don't want to have any secondary preparation? Is it for busy families? You know, who's your product targeted at, and how are you servicing that need? Because if you're not clear on it, you can't expect them to understand what you're offering them either, you know. So it needs to be crystal clear, your messaging, and you know.
Okay, and can you set up the likes of focus groups within your hub there as well, like where you can get the right demographic of people together and maybe have a focused discussion about maybe a product or a topic that you're trying to develop?
Yeah, you can get that. Now, I know a lot of the consumer research would say to try to get people's individual views where they're not influenced by others. So you can do a mix, whether it be individual or consumer panels. But yes, now, obviously there's a cost to all these services, so you would be trying to do this gradually. But there are supports out there, you know. So for example, the local enterprise office, there's feasibility study grants, the leader companies can offer that as well. So it's about leveraging the right supports at the right time for wherever you're stuck in your journey, and I suppose knowing where they're at, because you can't expect someone, you know, who has no knowledge of this space to actually know where to find all the right supports at the right time. So that's our job. We signpost, we help you on your journey, get you unstuck, help get whatever support's out there, get it and use it to the best advantage to advance your progress, you know. So I do find, though, back to Colm's point, like, you know, we have a lot of great food producers who have been doing very well in markets, festivals, at a local scale. And then when they come to participating on a national scale, so they get a test listing, or they've done the food academy with Super Value and they're trying to get on the main aisle in, you know, the cereal section, and because their food production standards aren't up to scratch, they're not getting that opportunity, because it's not that it's ruthless, it's just that these food retailers have to stand over the standards of the products that they offer. And if you're not able to get to B or C grade A or the Tesco standard or whatever it is, then you just, you know, you don't cut it. So if you haven't prepared to invest at that point, or have something like our facility to lean on, then you're not going to be participating at the races in that regard. And that's where, you know, when you talk about people failing, they might have a good 2 or 3 years, but then they don't manage to expand the way they had intended in their vision, you know.
Yeah, I just wondering there, what do you guys feel, or maybe this question for Colm there, maybe the key considerations when you're selecting ingredients for your product? And I suppose this would be a big consideration for anybody looking at any of those products I mentioned earlier on. You know, you're talking about availability maybe of ingredients, maybe seasonality, that kind of stuff. You're talking about maybe allergens, your certain diets for kosher or for halal, that's different demands. How do you go about choosing ingredients for your product?
And I suppose even to add to that, I suppose there's huge emphasis on reduced salt, reduced sugar products coming onto the market. But I suppose it's quite important to remember that these ingredients have a functional, they're functional ingredients. If you reduce the salt, it's going to affect the shelf life of your product. Sugar, it's going to affect the viscosity of, say, your product, or the mouthfeel of your product. So it's not a simple case of substituting out salt. And you'll find that if you're reducing salt and sugars to increase flavor, you're going to be adding fat products. So again, I suppose it's thinking about really what every individual ingredient in your recipe, what's its function, what's it doing there. And then I suppose following on from that, developing your, like when you develop the product, I suppose it's important to, I suppose, be self-critical. You know, don't have the blinkers on, because I suppose a lot of people, when they produce a product, it's their own baby, and they find it hard to even just to analyze it objectively. And so I suppose, and then following on from that, just developing it with a clear image of what the product is going to look like on the shelf. So developing it in line with your packaging. So that's quite important, because you can develop a product and it can be the best tasting, the best functionality, the best nutritionals, but if it's not developed in line with your packaging, you won't be able to put it onto the shelf. So I suppose developing those two in tandem, your recipe and your packaging.
And there are legal issues in relation to labelling as well, Colm, aren't there?
Exactly. So there's protected foods. There's, for jams, you have to have at least 50% sugar. Your products of animal origin, like your butters from milks, they're protected foods. So with regards to food labeling, you have to follow those regulations. And again, we'll be able to consult on that. And again, also allergens, it's a huge key area, especially for the likes of gluten-free products. Are you getting it tested? Are you validating your results? Is it truly gluten-free? Are you producing in a gluten-free facility? There's a lot of areas that you have to look at before you actually make those claims. And nutritional claims have to be backed up again scientifically. You can't put any nutritional claim onto a product.
Colm, at European level, we see with the farm to fork that organic farming is really being pushed right across Europe, and we're seeing strides here in Ireland to increase organic farming levels as well. Is there much of a demand for organic food, or do you see that increasing continuously?
I believe so. There's elements that you have to take into consideration, the supply of the product, and you mentioned yourself, Barry, about seasonality and the cost of the product. Organic does have a premium attached to it. Now that can be brought on to the consumer at the retail price, but I think definitely organics is definitely a growing area of interest for consumers. And again, it ties in with the notion of clean label, sustainable, reduced packaging. It all ties in with the kind of mindset of a conscious consumer.
Yeah, and leading on from that idea of a conscious consumer, I mean, definitely COVID has definitely instigated a significant shift in mindset from consumers. So they want to know where it came from, and they are more invested in products that are more local. So I know, for example, in the west of Ireland, like Green Earth Organics and Beach Lawn Farm have been huge champions of veg boxes delivered to your door, and their businesses have thrived through COVID. And I suppose maybe people weren't aware where their food was coming from prior to that, or maybe not taking the time to become aware. But now it's very much a big discussion. Even local butchers have never seen such a turnaround in support. So there is this interest in local food and being able to say, actually, that Angus beef product, those steaks yet today, they're from, my local farmer over the road who's a farm shop, you know what I mean? So it's becoming more and more important now. The demand has to continue for that to be successful, but I do think there has been a shift and an emphasis spent on getting local food and knowing where it comes from.
I know that it's something that you will be providing at the Bia Innovation Centre in Athenry is basic training requirements. Can you just give me an idea? I don't know which of you wants to take this one, but the basic training requirements that would be needed by somebody who's endeavouring on a food entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so we will have a mix and a blend of courses that we so we'll be linking in like we do with Teagasc Options with different courses in the Food Industry Development Department. Same with the local enterprise offices, something basic like start your own food business, just to give a taster. And then we'll also have follow-on courses, so lean for micro. They're just obvious ones that are currently already in place. And our intention then is to develop new ones. So, for example, we have an innovation springboard application at the minute with GMIT, which will be GMIT will deliver the academic piece, and Bia Innovator will deliver the practical element. So more and more of these will evolve as we go. And we also plan to do an awful lot of CPD, so kind of networking events, talks with buyers, so that you can actually start participating in that space, and it's industry driven, so industry needs. So we'll also have an awful lot of lunchtime seminars and talks, so we would hope to have them broadcast live as well as on site. But it might be the latest issue that's occurred that week in the food industry, like a product recall, where Colm might talk through the issues of such a thing, and I suppose how to rectify such a situation, how to be audit ready, like all the, I suppose, challenging things that people often are afraid to ask about. I
suppose stuff like HACCP and health and safety, they'd be important as well. All that kind of stuff will be covered, and cleaning and maintenance of equipment. There's probably a lot of regulatory requirements there. Could you just give us an idea there as well of the different state bodies that you will be dealing with, or the regulatory authorities, that somebody who's endeavouring on a food entrepreneurship, who they have to be dealing with?
Yeah, so for any operator who wants to produce product that's being delivered to the final consumer or onto the market, they will have to be registered with the relevant authorities. So we have the 4 units on our site. So the general unit, it's the HSE through the environmental health officers. The local veterinary office will be for our meat unit, the SFPA for our seafood unit, and then the dairy inspectors for our dairy unit. And I suppose, first of all, a food business will have to register with the relevant authority. And then I suppose, as you said, food safety training and HACCP training is a requirement to begin production. Now, on a side to that, if a client or a person wants to come in and produce a product just for innovation or new product development without supplying it to the market, they can do that without registration. But again, we will have our own internal standards that producers will have to adhere to. And as I mentioned with the induction training, all the training is provided with regards to proper cleaning, proper food handling, proper equipment use, and use of the general facility as well. And we hope to, once we're up and running as well, offer certified food safety training as well on site to groups of clients.
Yeah, brilliant. And another question has come in there. Would a company be able to access relevant Kantar data for the product proposition? Is this something the Bia Innovator Campus can access on behalf of a client?
Yeah, this is important information if you're trying to, I suppose, pitch to buyers and trying to see what the category is doing. Currently, no, we won't be able to offer that. I suppose our challenge as a campus is that the range of people coming to us from ambient to chilled, dairy, frozen product, the range of what people are looking at is so significant that it isn't just 1 or 2 categories to be able to access information, but we will be able to give guide on that. I suppose a lot of when you're pitching to buyers and trying to create your category proposal, we would be able to offer assistance in analysing categories practically. So, for example, let's say you're pitching to Tesco and it's the biscuit category and you want to be able to stamp out, who's the biggest seller in this area, what's my point of difference, where do I stand out, how do I create an argument to get it on that shelf. An awful lot of information is actually available from store managers. So while you might be at a scale where you can invest in Kantar data, there's definitely ways and means about creating pitches and proposals in a more economic fashion that, you won't be able to get access to that data. So there's definitely ways of and means of working around that. And then I think definitely the tasting consumer panel, so getting consumer feedback to say that they compared your product against someone else's on the market or the industry leader and they thought yours was good. I think there are definitely ways we can support to, I suppose, have less of a big spend on data when you're very early stage, and that's what you can't expect companies to.
Yeah, and I suppose money is going to be very, very tight at the very, very start for businesses, and I suppose that's the advantage of this Bia Innovator Campus, in terms of even premises and coming up with the ingredients and the kitchen facilities, all of that, and this is something that's available within the Innovator Campus. So somebody doesn't have to make that big spend at the start, they can improve. How do you actually take it from that stage that you go to the Bia Innovator Campus and you come up with this perfect recipe and you actually try and bring that back to your own kitchen or your maybe makeshift kitchen and keep that thing going, keep that recipe going, that it will taste exactly the same? Is that a challenge?
Yeah, definitely. That's where the technology team will feed in. So there will be people using the campus with their own production facilities and won't use ours, and they might just need help in getting maybe they've had a poor audit, they need help to get their standards up. We'll provide that support, whether you're a 1-person operator or a 19-person operating business, and our technologists will be able to go out and work on site with you to transfer recipes if they need to do that. There's no problem with that at all. It's whatever the business requires.
We're running very tight on time here. Another question has come in compiling back of the pack information. This kind of relates to what I asked you earlier on, Colm. Quid, ingredient declaration, allergens, processing aids, what legal advice, consultations with experts in European food declarations will be available to clients?
I suppose the technical team on site will be able to advise on the general requirements for what was just mentioned. But I suppose, as we said earlier, the food technologists being part of the food industry development department within Teagasc, we're there to act as a bridge or a link between the knowledge and services available within Teagasc and bring that to the site. So if there's questions that need further investigation, further querying, we can bring that to the relevant people within the Teagasc organization and bring that information back on site to be directly to the consumers or the producers.
Okay, that's great. Look at Colm and Elaine, thank you very, very much. You've given a great oversight of the Bia Innovator Campus at Athenry. For anybody who has any more information or is looking for information, you've got all the details there, and you can also send an email to hello@biainnovatorcampus.ie with your query, or you can Google the Innovator Campus at Athenry and you'll find all the details on their website there. We've run out of time as usual. We're up on 12 o'clock, so I want to thank both of you for joining me here today. On next week's Farm Business Options, I'll be discussing the whole area of cut foliage in the horticultural industry, and that's our second last webinar in the series. So from me, Barry Caslin, I want to thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you again next week. Bye-bye.